goes along with the whole liberal mindset and these people, because the way they are with COVID is the same way they are with Ukraine, Russia. They've become advocates against Russians, advocates against Russian culture. They've become just completely embracing of this, or dismissing the full-on fascism. And like I said, when I feel like people say, you're a Nazi every other 2 seconds. No, these people are actual Nazis. And one of these people, of course, one of these vile people is Sarah Ashton-Cirillo. And Sarah Ashton-Cirillo is a trans woman who was previously known as a he and had another name. And this person called for death to journalists, to more than one journalist. So I tweeted about it. A lot of people tweeted about it. But let's just go over some of the things she said. And so I said, the so-called journalist and Democratic operative is not only cheering and hoping Gonzalo Lira's capturing and death, but also for Patrick Lancaster from PL News Today. She also called Russians orcs. Orcs is a derogatory name used to call the Azov battalion have been calling Russians. It just says that they're ugly, that they're primitive. That's what it means, essentially. So here are a few of her wonderful tweets. She had this one where she said, incredible news from Kharkiv. Reports are that Chilean-Russian spy, real Gonzalo Lira, has been captured in Kharkov. And first of all, she's calling him a Russian spy without any sort of evidence. As a journalist, I would think that would be, uncalled for. He is allegedly a Russian saboteur posing as a journalist to destroy Ukraine. Congrats to Ukrainian security services. She means congrats to the Nazis. Hashtag stand with Ukraine. Then somebody says, excellent news. This Kremlin-paid spy was spreading lies about Ukraine even before the war. A shame for Chileans and real journalists. Well deserved. Patrick, you're next. So this other person commented, was like threatening Patrick, and she said, yes, Patrick must go. She is blatantly calling for the assassination of a journalist that has been providing one of the most amazing coverage of Ukraine on the ground. I would love to have him on the show. He's been constantly on the go. I think he was on Gray Zone, I think once, but he's been putting out videos. And of course, guys, doing this work in Ukraine is extremely dangerous. Anybody doing that work should be protected, and we should be fearful of anything happening to them, especially if they're showing the truth of what's happening in Ukraine. And Patrick has been doing this on the ground work, interviewing people, exposing a lot of the Western propaganda that has been pushed by the US. In addition to Patrick, of course, now there were several other journalists there from RT. There was a few from Telesur, and now Eva Bartlett is back in Ukraine, in Donetsk. And we have an update from Eva, who posted some of her conversations with Gonzalo, but I want to send my shout outs and my appreciation for the risk that they're taking, because there are several journalists that have been disappeared recently. So this is disgusting, right? And then she continues. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying this is sad. I'm just thinking about, what Gonzalo had to go through too. We mentioned the Daily Beast the other day. This is messed up. This is not normal behavior. This is child behavior. This is terrible.
It's psychopathic behavior. Like,
this is crazy. Yeah. And then did you see your little video that we put in the chat the other day with her? It was like trying to make herself the victim. Oh, yeah. Now I'm getting doxxed and whatnot. And you know what she's going to say too as well? Well, when I said he must go, I just meant he must leave Ukraine. That's it. I wasn't advocating for his capture and his death. Yes, you were.
Yeah. Gaslighters. So this is what she said kind of in reply. So they're saying I denounce Gonzalo Lira and turn him in. Nope, but we can dream. After all, he is responsible for the deaths of Ukrainian civilians and the destruction of Ukraine while defiling the term journalist. Real Gonzalo Lira is an enemy of freedom. She sounds like a neocon, first of all.
Responsible for any deaths. How is he responsible for any death? What is Gonzalo Lira done that he could be responsible for one freaking death?
Yeah. Like, and defiled journalism, like defiled it. I think the only people defiling journalism are the people spreading propaganda on behalf of the State Department and the Democratic Party, whatever, whatever factions of that. And I'm going to show you her ties to that. She also said Ukrainians everywhere are focused on destroying Russian orcs in Ukraine. Here's when she uses the word orcs and destroying Putin's war criminals, not gender. Only Russian trolls are interested in gender. Because she quote tweeted because somebody said, I would bet Nazis have double standards, good trans and bad trans. Like, this is the thing that irritates the hell out of me. You have some of these people that put in their bio, I'm trans, I'm this, she, them, they, that, whatever the hell they put in their bio. I have zero problem with who you have sex with. I have zero problem with what you identify as. Zero issue whatsoever. I look at people as people. My problem is some of these people exploit whatever, sexual orientation, whatever gender desire they have, and they use it to exploit for politics and for political clout and for political gain, and to also be able to say whatever the hell they want and be whatever kind of assholes they want to be in order to get away with it. Because when they get criticized, oh, they're anti-trans or they're anti-LGBTQ or they're pro-racist or whatever issue it may be. We've seen this, of course, used by the Democratic Party, and this person is a Democratic Party operative, so I don't put it past them. We've also seen the Democratic Party recruit from these very same sectors. We've also seen the intelligence community recruit specifically intersectional types of people that fall into the category of identity politics to exploit it. That's my problem. And that's what I think is happening a lot in this particular category. And a lot of people won't say that because they get a lot of pushback, but I'm just saying, like, there is an exploitation happening right now with that sector. And it's not just that identity, it's several identities that are being used to exploit. So this is a tweet from this account. I believe it was, I had it there. I don't know if it's there anymore, but oh, there it is. It's Fiorella Fortis. So this account, Fiorella Fortis, posted in Spanish a description of several things related to Sarah. And I'm going to just go over some of it right now. So this person said, the disappearance of Gonzalo Lira in Kharkov has put in the spotlight a strange character who arrived in Ukraine at the beginning of March and who since then on Twitter, at Sarah Ashton LV, because she's in Vegas, she's from Vegas, has incited hatred and violence against Russians and independent journalists, wishing them death. In 2015, he was in Europe, mixed between foreign fighters going to Syria and refugees coming from Syria. Then in the US, he infiltrated the Proud Boys movement. Now he is in Kharkov, but with a different name and gender. So you can see when she was a he. And interesting that they were also in Syria on behalf of the State Department Syrian narrative, while people like Vanessa Beeley and Eva Bartlett were actually in Syria talking about what was really happening and the lies. So the Daily Beast happened to write a nice article on her while they wrote a smear piece on Gonzalo. So they wrote this piece in June of last year, right? And this piece kind of exposes the kind of operative Sarah is. This undercover operative says she recruited the Proud Boys for the GOP, a transgender poker player and progressive activist who went undercover and cozied up to the right-wing extremists, a state Republican Party desperate to see Donald Trump win, a Vegas-based GOP consultant, the Proud Boys. This is a bizarre story connecting a far-right paramilitary group to an effort in Nevada to pressure election officials to overturn the 2020 election results. Interesting, she infiltrated a far-right paramilitary group, the Proud Boys, and is now in Ukraine with far-right actual paramilitary Banderite fascists, and thinks that the two are completely different. I find that extremely interesting. So this is from the article. In the months leading up to the 2020 election, Sarah Ashton-Cirillo, a self-described progressive activist, embedded herself in GOP circles as part of her research for a book on right-wing extremism. What she found was a Republican consultant desperate to team the Proud Boys up with the Nevada GOP in order to challenge ballots and flip the presidential election. And this last bit points out how in 2019, she told the Daily Beast that being transgender had helped her float between different worlds. Quote, some people can't comprehend the duality, she said. However, once you've fought through the pain and anguish of a gender transition, everything else is simple, both mentally and physically. You lose the sense of fear and realize anything is possible. The far left and far right share tremendous grievances with the system in which we live, she said. However, only the far right would be so blinded by hate for our republic that they would have allowed my infiltration to happen. Ultimately, their need to believe their own lies and falsehoods allowed me to slide right into their narrative. So she's gloating about how she was able to infiltrate the GOP and get all this information from them. She also was able to turn a person that was running as a Democrat, and then she convinced this woman to run as a Republican, and she won her election running as a Republican, but really she was a Democrat. So this person is an operative. This is what an operative does. They go undercover. They, sow discord within an organization. They sell themselves to whatever the highest bidder is. The Proud Boys have been infiltrated, of course, by the feds multiple times. This isn't anything new, but I find it interesting that this operative who wrote a book about right-wing extremism is literally helping Nazis in Ukraine and is wishing for death to journalists.
Mm-hmm. Poker player, huh, fam?
Yeah. Isn't it interesting? I find that very interesting.
Might run into her one day, huh?
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe.
dude, that's her drug. Well, now it's, obviously she said going back and forth, slipping back and forth into different areas, whatnot. That's got to be some type of drug, getting your kicks off doing that, and also playing poker. So interesting.
Yeah, and I mean, I know you're not going to talk about this because you might not be comfortable with it, but I think her saying that is extremely manipulative, especially using the issue of being transgender, because what that does is it turns a lot of people against trans people, which is not my intent, and it's not the intent of most people, but the weaponization of these identities does exactly that. And also the weaponization of these identities is extremely manipulative, and it's being used by the intelligence community to reach a certain political agenda and a political narrative. And it's very clear that this person is weaponizing that. It's not a genuine thing. And I hate that that's happening because it's just so manipulative. And this person pointed out that the journalists in conflict zones are prohibited from carrying weapons, but Ukrainian troops allowed Michael John / Sarah Ashton to pose with a machine gun and hand grenade. And of course, these are the Ukrainian troops. And she also said in an interview with Vozwire, Ashton-Cirillo stated that her entrance into this world was not exactly as an undercover spy, at least not at first. It doesn't mean it isn't now. And just overall, I just wanted to put what Eva's last contact with Gonzalo was. She said, you guys—
What was this, by the way? Do you know?
This was the 15th.
Okay.
Yeah. So she said, I hope you're able to get some sleep. And he said, thank you, Eva. I really appreciate it. Not really. The crazies are rolling around in the streets in Kharkov. Their cars have taped up license plates, and one look at the guys inside and they're trouble. So these cars had, there was no way to track them because you couldn't see their license plate. And she said, yes, yikes. I imagine you're staying close to home then. And he said, everyone is. No one sane steps outside. Everyone is hunkered down in basements. And whenever possible, and whenever anyone has to go outside, they walk as quickly as possible to their destination. And everyone gives everyone else a wide berth on the sidewalks because everyone has become completely paranoid. So he's telling her about his experience there. And he said, I've seen the Russian POWs and I've seen the Ukrainian POWs. And the Ukrainians clearly look like they have been taking very heavy drugs for extended period. They have that hollow-eyed look. It's hard to explain, but I've seen enough people come off of amphetamines, cocaine, and other uppers to spot it. And then she responds, even that British guy who was recently captured kind of has that look. The next day, April 16th morning, how are you? Did you manage to get some sleep? I'm heading south for a couple of days, got my accreditation. Worried about you so much, so is much of Twitter. Checking in. And so
Nothing.
They haven't heard from him. And that is worrisome. And, somebody posted something stupid about Gonzalo, like, that, he's not a leftist, he's not a communist or whatever.
We talked about it in the chat, right? Like the whole thing, like, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I don't care. This is still wrong. What they're doing to him, what they're doing, smearing him is wrong. If I disagree with Gonzalo politically, if he said some things that I completely find whatever gross or completely disagree with, that does not justify what these fascists are doing to a lot of people, what the media is doing, smearing him, what they potentially could be doing to him. The fact that a lot of journalists have disappeared, none of it justifies it, even if these people don't agree with us on every single thing. I think that's ridiculous. You become that which what you hate if you think it justifies some sort of like death call, right?
The progressive left, the wokest left right there that thinks is okay. Gonzalo doesn't have the same ideology as me, and he uses crass language and he goes over the line so he gets what he deserves. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
He wouldn't classify the Azov battalion as Nazis. He only said that they were just really bad. Like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're a perfect fucking human being to the point you can sit there and advocate that a guy gets what he deserves just because you don't agree with him ideologically. Enough of your bullshit woke to lift yourself up crap. Put a little blue ribbon around your freaking chest and go stare in the mirror, pal. Don't bring your shit over here. It's sad. It's sad what he might have gone through. You know what I'm saying? We can't speculate right now because from what I understand, the person who put up a lot of the stuff about Gonzalo being off has now kind of changed his tune and said, oh, that wasn't me. I didn't say that and whatnot. Really hasn't clarified his moonwalking. So we can't speculate, but it's completely disgusting. You know what I'm saying? And just like her, Sarah Kristen, the same other person that we're talking about, that other socialist and stuff like that, they hate Gonzalo for the same friggin' reason, so they can justify their existence and how better they are.
Yeah, no, it's gross. And yeah, they become as fascistic as anything. When you say that somebody got what they sought from Nazis, you're now justifying Nazism. You're blaming the victims of Nazism, even if we don't know what's happened or not. The fact that you're saying that it's okay because you don't like this person, I wouldn't wish my worst enemy on the Azov battalion and on these people. The way they have been conducting war crimes, the way they have been completely just so psychopathic in their treatment of human beings. And at some point, I think people are going to have to come to terms with themselves and see what really are they cheering for in terms of this conflict, because it's one thing to not have all the facts, but it's one thing when everything's out there, the war crimes are being committed by Azov, the years of war crimes that have been committed in the last 8 years since 2014 Maidan coup and all of that, and completely just ignoring that and saying, well, because they were spewing Russian propaganda. Sorry, that doesn't justify it at all.
I see, Oz, you put up another tweet over here. It says, no indication he is deceased. Scott Ritter has zero sources here, and he is wrong. Is Scott Ritter saying, because can you see the original Scott Ritter tweet real quick? Can you get that up for us to see what Scott Ritter is saying? And by the way, the audacity of this woman, Sarah Ashton-Cirillo, to sit there and say Scott Ritter has no sources. I mean, how high are you? I mean, what are you smoking? Because I want some of that. Scott Ritter has no sources. The ex-UN weapons inspector, that called out, blew the whistle on what was going on in Iraq has no sources. I mean, you got to be freaking kidding me. Oh, you're a source, Sarah Ashton. You're breaking news, honey. Please. Okay, whatever. I guess Scott Ritter has said something. Why can't you get it? I'll go to his Twitter.
Because his Twitter's suspended.
Okay.
Yeah, this is probably from Telegram. So, yeah.
Okay.
Anywho.
I'm curious probably to see what he said. I mean,
yeah, I think Scott was saying that he was, but yeah, there's speculating until we have confirmation, and that's that. But my whole point in that section was to show that it's wrong for people to desire somebody be eliminated just because of their political. But that's where we're at right now. That's how we didn't get there just now. We got there with the pandemic and how people felt about the unvaccinated not getting healthcare, not that they should not have housing, that they shouldn't have access to restaurants and food and all this stuff. That's priming for this, and that's kind of where we're at as a society. And if you don't stop yourself from going down that path because somebody disagrees with you, you're going to reach this level of fascism. That is fascism. And of course, it's definitely started way before that with the whole, deplorable situation where if somebody voted for Trump, they were automatically cast aside as somebody that should have never had an opinion on anything ever. And that's not, my defense necessarily of their opinion, but it's my defense of people being able to have one without being, told that they should die or something. I think, yeah.
Disgusting. Oz, I put it on the bottom of 44.
You put the link.
Yep, Oz is already on it. Thank you, Sharon Balanced. So it says Scott Ritter was reporting that Gonzalo Lira was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered by the Kraken unit, part of the Azov battalion. Sarah Ashton LV reporting he was captured in Kharkov on April 18th. And this is from the real Gonzalo's last tweet on April 15th. When reports emerged that Gonzalo Lira, a Chilean social media influencer who raised in Kharkov, Ukraine, and who published online content critical of the Ukrainian government, was kidnapped, tortured, and murdered by the Kraken unit, part of the Azov battalion affiliated with the USS, which is also known as the SBU. The West is silent. Free speech isn't a one-way street. To remain silent in the murder of Gonzalo Lira is to be complicit in his death and the deaths of all journalists who pursue the truth, even if it runs counter to the mainstream narrative. Critical thinking should be a death sentence. Unfortunately for Gonzalo Lira, it seems it was, and that was from the real Scott Ritter. He's saying that this Azov, this Kraken unit from the Azov battalion got him. And then, Sarah said he doesn't know, Scott has no connections here. He has no sources here. It's not confirmed that he's deceased. And obviously she's moonwalking on the situation because she probably regrets opening up her stupid mouth and saying the things she said. Because then she immediately went into playing the victim and saying she was getting doxxed and whatnot. While she's also pointing the finger at another journalist there saying he must go. So, yeah, it's some sick shit, fam. Thank you.
Yeah, fam. I still don't think there's any real confirmation from what I read. Yeah, he said he was citing reports. So I don't know if he himself said that. He's sort of saying it seems like it was. He's not saying this is for sure either. So, we'll see. We're all hoping for the best. But it's scary. It's sad, especially when other people we know are there and are going to Ukraine. So it's, yeah.
By the way, Fair and Balanced said, Pasta, it's Farron, the former RT American primetime anchor. Thank you, Farron, for watching the show. It's awesome that you're here. Check your Tweeter DMs. I call them tweeters instead of Twitters because I'm a boomer. I sent you Scott Ritter's post as well as Sarah's reply to me. She was the one clapping back at me. Check it out. Keep up the great work, you two. Thank you so much, Farron.
Thank you, Farron.
Yes. That's awesome. And thank you for getting that to me. I'm glad we were able to post that up there. And you know what? Scott Ritter's word goes a long way with me, right? Before the internet was all popular and everything was going down and whatnot, Scott Ritter stuck his neck out and talked about the fact that there were no weapons of mass destruction in Iraq when everybody else was saying, let's go, let's go, let's go. So, like I said, Scott Ritter's word carries a lot of weight with me, fam.
Yeah. I don't think he was confirming 100% anything, but we'll see.
Either do I, but you know, I don't know. We'll see. Like, we shouldn't speculate. You're right.